In fact, it's not even a fair comparison. When we say Modi outdoes Manmohan, there's no comparison between the two. Modi has achieved in 7 months what Manmohan Singh couldn't despite his best efforts in 10 years. Even Manish Tiwari will acknowledge that. Senior Congress leader, former Union Minister Manish Tiwari taking on Nalin Kohli of the BJP national spokesperson. Naresh Gujral, Member of Parliament, Shiromani Akali Dal. Maruf Raza stays on. Times Now's consulting editor Maruf Raza, senior journalist Kumar Ketkar and Rakesh Sood, former diplomat. By the way, Rakesh Sood was Manmohan Singh's special envoy for disarmament and non-proliferation in 2013 and has been a former permanent representative to the Conference of Disarmament in Geneva. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, everyone. Let me start with you, Mr. Sood. Why do you... Mr. Sood, if you can hear me. Okay, I don't think the audio is going through to Mr. Sood, so let's start with some others. Maruf, let's start with you once again. If you compare the last 7 months, what Modi has been able to do, to the 10 years of what Manmohan is trying to do, there are many comparisons, but the most bitter comparison will be the comparison over the nuclear deal, because Manmohan Singh really wanted it to happen.
Yeah, Arnab, see, there are two things that I wish to bring out here. Before we get on to the nuclear deal, from what I've understood, that apparently the Obama regime itself was quite positively inclined towards Dr. Manmohan Singh. In fact, apparently President Obama has been on record to say that Manmohan Singh was his guru. But in the last 3 years, Mr. Manmohan Singh's time, the India file stopped going to White House because they saw no potential of furthering any relationship with India because things were just not moving. And here comes Modi, and Obama just described him as a Bollywood rock star. We saw the performance at Madison Square Garden. We saw the confidence with which he's, got into the waters of foreign policy, which is tricky terrain by all standards. And I think where the credit goes to Mr. Modi, as Foreign Secretary has said, the deal is sealed and done. If that is true, and I would assume it is because the Foreign Secretary wouldn't make an announcement like that, then they have certainly exercised imagination, which was missing in the Manmohan Singh regime. So therefore, I think we are moving forward. It's a strategic partnership. There are symbolisms attached. There has to be give and take. And I think the Modi government has decided, come what may, within the Indian legislation, there will be a certain amount of give from India to take from the US, a long-term partnership, which includes beyond nuclear, civil energy arrangements, a lot of other things that India wants. For example, as your next debate is going to be to put Pakistan in the dock.
Maruf, let's put it to Manish Tiwari. And by the way, to everyone else, I'm not going for opening remarks. Tonight, we are going for an open debate instead. But in order to provoke the debate further, I want to ask Manish Tiwari. Manish Tiwari, look back. Manmohan Singh's best moment, by his own admission, was striking the nuclear deal with the US. That was 6 years back. Then what did you do? You put it in the freezer. You forgot. You made no effort to push it politically. There was no conviction from your end. There was no contact group for your end. You stumbled from one thing to the other. You were also a minister. And it is only and only Modi who was able to revive it. Where did you go so horribly wrong?
Well, Mr. Goswami, if you've finished, I can only say that you've got it horribly wrong. On the contrary, today would be the happiest moment for former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. It is the vindication of his legacy. The only thing which the NDA government or the current government has been able to find, or the only peg they've been able to find to hang their coat on, is the Indo-US Civil Nuclear Agreement. An agreement on which they accused former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh of selling the sovereignty of India in the bazaars of Washington, D.C. A deal on which they sunk to the lowest nadir of political chicanery.
Are you quoting them or are you quoting them off record? Are these their words? Are these their words? Then stand by them. You're a lawyer. Are these their words or are you imagining the words?
I am not imagining the words, Mr. Goswami. You have been a witness to those times. Wasn't Dr. Manmohan Singh accused of selling the sovereignty of India in the bazaars of Washington, D.C. by the same BJP government which is now trying to go ahead with the Indo-US Civil Nuclear Agreement? Isn't it the same BJP which brought a no-confidence motion against the then UPA government on the Indo-US civil nuclear deal? Isn't it the same BJP which actually tried to subvert the entire Civil Liability Act? So what are we talking about here? And now when Mr. Obama comes to India for the second time, the only peg that they've been able to find...
That is no answer to why you were not able to push it through.
Is the Indo-US civil nuclear agreement.
1 second. Was your Prime Minister personally involved? Was anyone discriminating against Manmohan Singh? No, has Modi not pushed it himself? Would you not give him credit? If this deal has been revived, is it not because of the personal involvement of Narendra Modi? Because of the serious debate which followed?
Goswami,
was there did Manmohan Singh...
Mr. Goswami, let me ask a larger question. Leader after leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party went on record saying that if our government is formed, we will junk the Indo-US civil nuclear agreement, lock, stock and barrel.
But you were against it then,
because it compromises India's sovereignty.
But you were against it then.
Didn't they say that? Wasn't this their rhetoric in the 2009 elections? So what happened? They came to government 5 years later, and the only thing that they've been able to push is the civil nuclear agreement. Allow me to point out
what was the dispute all about. I thought you were genuinely complimenting them today, but I was mistaken. I thought for a while that Manish Tiwari is genuinely complimenting the government, but I was mistaken.
The entire difficulty was on the wording of Section 17B.
No, we'll go into detail, but you made it.
As it was originally worded.
Manish, hold on now, Manish.
The operator. When it was reworded, it talked about, it took that intent away.
Mr. Tiwari
had a problem with that.
Mr.
Tiwari, the French didn't have a problem with that. The Koreans didn't have a problem with that. The Japanese didn't have a problem with that. The Russians didn't have a problem with that. So therefore, what we need to know today is that what is it this government has done, which has undone an act which has been passed by the Indian Parliament?
Okay, I think you should now hear the BJP.
On August 2010, Jaswant Singh accused us on the floor of the House of trying to do by stealth.
Mr. Tiwari, you are unstoppable tonight.
A deal to please the United States of America.
Mr. Tiwari,
you have a situation whereby if 17...
Mr. Tiwari, your time runs out.
We exactly would like to know what is the compromise which has been arrived at.
Okay, so Mr. Tiwari, and by the way, I've often said this, that if there's a shadow foreign minister, it is Mr. Manish Tiwari. He's so utterly critical of any government when he's in the opposition and so supportive of any government when he happens to be in it. He makes a fantastic minister. Some people say he makes a better shadow minister. One second.
That's the responsibility of a constructive
Now, Mr. Tiwari. Now,
when you're in the opposition, you need to point out anomalies.
Okay, so there is a gentleman in the studio tonight called Nalin Kohli. He was making notes while you were replying. You were non-stop for 5 minutes. The question put is, what is the big deal that the Narendra Modi government has done? One. B, will the BJP explain why it has gone back on what it said earlier and therefore has it cheated the people on what it said before the elections? Now the floor is yours.
Well, I think, Mr. Goswami, the irony is absolutely unmissable.
Whose?
Yes, the irony. I'm just pointing out, the irony is unmissable that and to borrow a phrase from Mr. Tiwari, that the only peg on which Dr. Manmohan Singh can hope to hang a legacy is on the shoulders of Mr. Narendra Modi. There is no legacy otherwise of a government that preceded us. Everything that they did never really translated into something. And today, when they are claiming credit on it, they have to hang that peg on what Mr. Narendra Modi as Prime Minister of India has achieved. Look at the irony. And let's forget about magnanimity. How can you expect magnanimity ever? Because the Congress party is more uni-focused to a family, not the celebration of something in the interest.
The family as the Gandhi family has nothing to do with it.
It's not about nothing to do.
No, don't distract.
Mr. Tiwari, have the patience to hear me for a change. Just for a change. For variety, let me speak for a few minutes. Let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. I heard your monologue.
You answer.
I am going to speak, Mr. Goswami. Mr. Tiwari, provided you have the patience to listen.
Do you believe
just display the same patience that I have? Perhaps you would have had statecraft too, if you had the patience to listen to what the nation was saying. So, I mean, that's the whole point. You can't speak and hope that the nation will, the voice of the nation won't be heard. So have some patience, Mr. Tiwari. Let me just finish my point.
Mr. Nalin Kohli, does the BJP believe in
Mr.
the
Tiwari,
civil nuclear
Mr. Tiwari, if you're
I'm
over.
asking you for the nth time.
Mr. Tiwari,
why don't you reply yes or no?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you've been trying to answer that forever. And as a lawyer, you should know better than that. So am I. Anyway, let's get back to the top of it.
Kohli,
let me, Mr. Tiwari, make a point. Or Mr. Tiwari, if you want, I'll take this debate exactly where you are taking it. I can constantly do this and I can also speak in a monologue. We won't get anywhere. The nation will move on. You'll be stuck where you are, Mr. Tiwari.
Mr. Tiwari, please, this is not Parliament.
Why don't you answer and move on?
Mr. Tiwari, this is not the Rajya Sabha.
Well, if you have patience to listen.
Mr. Tiwari, this is not the Rajya Sabha. This is not the Rajya Sabha. Let him reply. Thank you very much.
Well, I was never
Thank you very much. A counter was asked. He replied. He listened to you. It's fair you listen to him. However bitter you are tonight, Mr. Tiwari. However angry you are tonight,
well, I am not
however upset you are tonight, but tonight is the night you ask the question and you must reply. You must reply. You must hear the reply. Now, Nalin Kohli, reply. Mr. Manish Tiwari, you asked 3 questions. Now, please listen to the reply. Go ahead.
Let's go one by one.
Let's go one by one. Yeah.
The Congress party would like us to believe that we went ahead and stalled Parliament in passing a law. If we wanted to be stalling something, we would be exactly what the Congress party was doing. You don't allow a law to pass through. You put in a law in national interest. And that's exactly how it went through. So therefore, you can't be saying, why did we pass a law? If we didn't want that law, we would have opposed it. So that's the first point. Second is with regard to the nuclear deal. And what you're seeing, the big difference between what it was 6 years ago and what it's now is essentially both sides are finding ground to move further. It hasn't been one-sided.
No, but you compromised. You compromised or didn't compromise?
You compromised or didn't compromise? We won't get to compromise in strong words like that, Mr. Goswami.
No, why wouldn't you?
Why didn't you? Till the text is out. Let's first see the text before we pass such comments. Let's go back to what it is. Was not the issue of tracking of fissile material an integral part to how the deal was being spoken about? Today, that's a massive thing because that meant getting into sovereignty of India. We had concerns about our nuclear reactors being, in a sense, being monitored over the requirements of the IAEA. Now, that was something that was not acceptable. Now, if that's not something to celebrate from Indian sovereignty, what is? Let's get back to the part of the liability. Has a liability been written off? A mechanism is being sought to be found whether liability can exist and business can also exist. It's not something unifocused that we've removed the liability. So I don't know what the Congress party is complaining about. The only thing they can complain about is they don't have a legacy, and the legacy they want to claim has been delivered by Mr. Narendra Modi.
And not just on this issue, Kumar Ketkar, not just on this issue. Manish Tiwari, I'll let you come back. Not just on this issue, but on all issues. Kumar Ketkar, however strong a critic you are of the Narendra Modi government, you will admit today they have achieved a lot on the nuclear issue which Manmohan Singh couldn't. They have achieved a lot vis-a-vis Pakistan which the Manmohan Singh government couldn't.
Well, actually,
in fact, even on the snooping issue, when the issue of snooping came in, the Congress government went soft. Sushma Swaraj took it up with John Kerry. Not just that, Kumar Ketkar, the WTO standoff ended with India having the upper hand. So in terms of foreign policy, what do you think Modi has got so right? Kumar Ketkar, Naresh Gujral, feel free to come in. So should Rakesh Shrood, please. Yes, Kumar Ketkar.
Well, actually, Dr. Manmohan Singh should find completely happy tonight because he must be saying that it was his policy, it was his decision that has been completely endorsed by Narendra Modi. So he should be blessing Narendra Modi for this. And that clearly shows that whether he could pursue the matter between 2009 and 2014 is a different question altogether. In 2008, all of us forget, Nalin Kohli can't have a short memory. Everybody forgets that in 2008, the so-called vote for cash or cash for vote scandal emerged out of this particular deal. And these details of the deal which have been signed today by the majority government of the BJP was not the facility that Dr.
How is it relevant?
Had. And yet
how is it relevant now?
Pursued the matter to the extent that finally the deal came through in 2008. And therefore, the other countries like France and Russia and all other countries agreed to have nuclear power investment in India. let us not forget that the success of the nuclear power deal was not directly only linked with US. It was linked with many other countries. And so whatever happened between 2010 and 2014 on the nuclear front was actually total and 100% vindication of Dr. Manmohan Singh's policies. And if Narendra Modi is claiming victory, tomorrow he will say he discovered America and not Columbus. He can do that. At present, the way media is supporting Narendra Modi, he can even say that he discovered America. That is not the question. The question is, Nalin Kohli can't have a short memory. Nalin Kohli cannot have a short memory. He knows.
Mr. Kedkar, you've said that twice, and let me come on the record. Mr. Kedkar, I do not have a short memory. Mr. Kedkar, I've heard you. May I just answer the question you're bringing up? Mr. Kedkar. Mr. Kedkar, may I just come in for a minute, please? I hope you're not being inspired by Mr. Tiwari. I hope you're not being inspired by Mr. Tiwari. Let me make a point. Let me make a point. You made 2-3 charges. Mr. Kedkar, may I just make a point? Mr. Kedkar, may I just make a point? I'm making a request to make a point in counter to what you're saying. Mr. Kedkar, would you like to hear or would you like to be... Mr. Kedkar, you are a senior journalist. I'm sure you don't want to denigrate yourself in terms of how you are putting it across almost like a political debate. Let me bring in my point. Mr. Kedkar, okay, I'll bring my point because you are not in a mood to listen, but I'd rather say it to the nation ahead who would like to listen to it. So let's go one by one. The BJP does not believe in denigrating anyone's credit. The BJP never has done that. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 15th August standing there on Red Fort addressing the nation said, I acknowledge all the good work done by preceding Prime Ministers. We haven't seen that magnanimity from anyone else. So therefore that's the first thing. Don't put that charge on us. Second is with regard to the point of the nuclear deal. Yes, I'm glad you brought in the cash for votes scandal, and I'm happy that you have been also with an equally endowed memory to not forget that was the most horrific thing about the sale of Indian democracy.
That's true.
Thank you, Mr. Kedkar, for bringing it on the record, and I'm glad that we share a good memory, both of us. The third point that you have said about Dr. Manmohan Singh celebrating, certainly he should celebrate. And he should thank that there's a Prime Minister outside the Congress party elected through the people of India who has actually gone ahead and done something. The fourth is in terms of the legacy you're talking about. India has not compromised anyway its sovereign rights. We have not agreed to inspections over and above the International Atomic Energy. So therefore, Commission. So therefore, there's a big difference between that. But if you would go ahead and listen and not behave with all due respect to you as a Congress apologist, perhaps you might be able to counter me on point by point instead of the rhetoric borrowed from the domains of the Congress party.
The question is of success and of victory.
Don't be so bitter, Mr. Kedkar. You've had your time of praising the Congress. Don't be so bitter. Celebrate something in the national interest. You don't have to be feeling bad just because the Congress party couldn't deliver it earlier.
1 second, Naresh Gujral, Manish Tiwari, before you come in.
It is not a question of Congress or BJP.
Well, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Kedkar, your whole argument has been unifocused to that. It's about the Congress and the BJP. It has nothing to do with the celebration of what is happening in national interest. So I'm sorry to say I have to bring it on the record.
It has nothing to do with Congress.
No, I'm sorry, it has everything to do with the Congress, Mr. Kedkar. I'm sorry you'll have to accept that much. You may or may not, but I certainly feel the way you're putting it across, it appears to me that way.
Well, you know, some people succeed and some people fail.
Today, that is biggest critic. Dr. Manmohan Singh's biggest critic, Narendra Modi, is now vindicating Dr. Manmohan Singh. Narendra Modi should be unhappy and Manmohan Singh should be happy.
Okay, so one more.
Just fascinating skew.
Four counters to that. Four counters to that perspective, but I'll present that before. After that, I'll go to Rakesh Sud and Mr. Gujral. Just because they're holding themselves back, let us not keep them out of the debate. 26 minutes past 9 and they haven't even spoken yet. And I don't think that's being fair. My simple point is, you say, sir, everything Modi is doing. No. Manish Tiwari, Manish, a minute. Today, Kumar Kedkar says everything. Manish, a minute.
No, hang on. I want to ask a very simple question.
To whom?
My simple question to Mr. Nalin Kohli is that since he's been gloating over the Indo-US Civil Nuclear Agreement, would he, on behalf of the BJP, like to apologize to the nation for bringing a vote of no confidence against the UPA government on the very same Indo-US civil nuclear agreement?
So may I answer it?
If they feel that the Indo-US civil nuclear agreement is a national interest, then why did they bring a vote of no confidence in 2008?
So may I answer that?
Okay.
And why did they hold up the passage of the civil nuclear
Manish, you answer.
So
Manish, you are an intelligent man.
And hunt with the
Manish, you are not just an intelligent man. You are extremely capable with your words. And one of the advantages of that is that you don't have to repeat yourself. The point is understood the first time you said it.
I'm not repeating myself.
Thank you.
I'm not getting an answer.
Thank you.
The reason I'm repeating myself is I'm not getting an answer.
How can you answer?
But Manish Tiwari, to get an answer, you and Kumar Ketkar must stop.
And you must listen.
Now, please stop for a while.
It's a request, Mr. Tiwari. I'll answer it.
You can't have somebody
Mr. Tiwari, may I answer it?
1 second.
Go right ahead and answer it, Mr. Kohli.
Sure, Mr. Kohli will reply now. And my apologies to Mr. Gujral and Mr. Sood, but I will have to get a reply. Please go ahead.
I'll make it short.
Make it brief.
Yeah,
then I go to the
absolutely.
others.
The first thing is the apology to the nation for a cash for vote scandal should, I think, precede anything else. That is exactly what Mr. Kumar Ketkar brought it up. Second point, yes, of course we bought it. We bought it, Mr. Tiwari. We bought it and you won it through basically means that are completely suspect. And they were very, very sad, a sad reflection on democracy. The second part is, today, Mr. Tiwari, I think Mr. Goswami pointed out you are eloquent, but if you would allow me to just speak, and then I'll be able to answer what you've asked. So the second point being, that in terms of the nuclear deal, this discussion is not unifocused to that only. The nuclear deal is just one aspect of a tango that's happening on an Indian melody. We should celebrate that. You can do anything you want. You can try to bring up anything you want. But at the end of the day, Mr. Tiwari, all your theatrics aside, the apology is not needed. You can keep saying, you can say whatever you want. But at the end of the day, people out there are going to celebrate how the nation is moving on, and it's not stuck on an old record as your charges are.
Okay, Mr. Gujral,
you fought an election on that. You fought an election on that. You couldn't fight the subsequent election on that, Mr. Tiwari. The people of India have moved on. So has India. They are not stuck on an old record.
So yours was the old record.
So
I'm talking about the charges that they are making. Okay. Ours wasn't the charge that he's making. And they have to really go back to dig up relics of the past without looking at it in the totality.
Naresh Gujral.
And they are ignoring the truth.
A fourth and fifth voice in the debate are Naresh Gujral and Rakesh Sood. First of all, to Mr. Sood and to Mr. Gujral. Is the past not relevant now? Is the past not relevant now in terms of, for example, actually let me put this to Mr. Sood first. Is the past going to be of relevance? You are new government, new mandate. So what if the BJP took a different position earlier? A bit of give and take always happens. This is not the first time a political party would have changed its position. Mr. Sood.
Let me just make 3 short points. First, I think we should all be happy that the deal has now gone through. And the credit for that certainly goes to Prime Minister Modi. Second point, I think a lot of it is due to the fact that he was able to establish a personal chemistry with President Obama in a very short while, which has been a catalyst in transforming the relationship. And the third point is that if we had not had the hard work that was done between 2005 and 2008, then I'm afraid we would be starting from scratch. So what Prime Minister Modi has done with his leadership is that he has removed the inertia that had crept into the relationship in recent years.
And that inertia was due to what, Mr. Gujral?
Yeah.
In your view, 1 second. That inertia was due to what?
Well, I don't understand why we are making this into Congress versus BJP or NDA versus UPA. The fact is, today is a win-win for India, a triumph of Indian democracy. And I think both Mr. Manmohan Singh and Mr. Modi need to be complimented, and they deserve the nation's gratitude. I will grant the fact that Dr. Manmohan Singh staked his chair to start this deal. Thereafter, he could not carry his allies with him, so the deal could not see the light of the day. Mr. Modi, after coming to power, took it upon himself to make this happen, and with his unlimited energy has made sure that today is a great day for India and a win-win for the country. So I think this debate is pointless. Both contributed and the country will benefit.
Mr. Gujral, you're trying to build a consensus where there is none. Yes, Maruf, I want to come back to you. You know, we can say this, but the fact is, has there ever been uniformity in foreign policy issues, agreement between principal players on issues? If the BJP has changed its position today and the Congress is criticizing it, the only story it tells me is that there is never a consensus on critical foreign policy issues. There wasn't one. Why did the BJP not support the nuclear bill in this exact form when it was in the opposition? That's the question Manish Tiwari is asking.
But those terms have changed.
No, terms have not changed. The basic terms are exactly the same.
Not exactly the same.
Exactly the same. You know it's exactly the same.
No, how? Because you're talking about, for example, the tracking of fissile material. It's a big change.
Tracking of fissile
liability
material
hasn't been removed. Liability hasn't been removed. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Has there not been a dilution of the liability?
How do you call it? In terms of dilution, if you're putting a mechanism in terms of an insurance, that's not a dilution. You're only putting in a mechanism to take care of it and not falling on, say, completely aside.
Just 1 second. Maruf wants to come back and then we'll come back to the political debate. Yes, Maruf.
Arnab, I just want to make 3 quick points. The first is, I think Professor Amartya Sen would be having a good laugh because we've actually proved we are very argumentative Indians, the title of his book. Most importantly, I think I agree entirely with Mr. Gujral and Mr. Sood, who've really said that the credit lies with both political parties. Please understand, if I could draw an analogy, it's like a game of hockey or football. Somebody makes the move, but somebody gets the credit for scoring the goal. He may not have made the entire set of moves, but he was there at the right time to push the ball in. And I think Mr. Modi gets the credit for doing that, seizing the moment, seizing the opportunity to move ahead. But there is another agreement that has happened today, which I think we should be very happy about as Indians. Looking a little beyond the nuclear arrangement, what has been pulled off by the Modi government, and I've never heard this in the entire foreign policy discourse that I've been watching for more than 2.5 decades, is the fact that this is the first time that India has entered into a hotline arrangement with the 2 heads of government between India and the United States. I don't think we have it with any other country, and the National Security Advisor. So we've raised the level of bilateral relationship with the United States.
Can you explain to our viewers? Maruf, can you explain to our viewers what a hotline arrangement really means?
That's a significant achievement in foreign policy.
Maruf, just put it briefly to us.
I think it's a significant achievement.
Just explain it briefly, Maruf, just 1 second. Explain it briefly, very briefly. What is this hotline arrangement which is being spoken about? What really does it constitute?
Arnab, what happens in the case of hotline is this has existed between the United States and Soviet Union in the days of the Cold War, but that was in a negative context. It is to prevent a situation from escalating. But say hypothetically, we get another Mumbai type attack which comes in from Pakistan. The immediate reaction at some levels would be to hit back, to get even with Pakistan. It is at that point of time the President of the United States can get online directly with the Indian head of government and say, hold it, we will support you, but give it a little time. Let's get to the bottom of it.
I want to at this point cut to Okay, let's go back to the debate. Manish Tiwari, you know, in that spirit of consensus which was just being built, and Maruf says and Mr. Rakesh Sood says that everything that has been built together. I don't want to be a spoiler, Mr. Tiwari, but let's go back to the nuts and bolts of foreign policy. Whenever there are successes, there are lots of people sharing them. There's general feeling of bonhomie, good humor, etc., which will also be there at the Rashtrapati Bhavan banquet. But come down to specifics. Why did your foreign policy fail so hard? Because today what has been happening over the last 7 months, Manish Tiwari, makes your losses, your defeats, your failures, it magnifies them all the more. Whether it is vis-a-vis Pakistan, whether it is vis-a-vis WTO, whether it is vis-a-vis, overall vis-a-vis America, Maruf, you know, not nuclear deal, overall vis-a-vis America, especially also the nuclear deal. And by the way, I slightly disagree with Mr. Rakesh Sood, a man of great experience, because the contact group in charge of negotiating this deal left the deal completely eventually in the domain of the 2 heads of state, after failing to resolve some sticking points. So if this deal was revived, it was revived by personally Obama and Modi. You see, and also, Mr. Tiwari, the personal chemistry, a good point being made there. No personal chemistry with Manmohan Singh. Great personal chemistry with yes, what do you want to add there?
Actually.
Don't
Mr.
add it just to provoke Manish.
No,
add it if you...
There was a comment by Mr. Obama, if I recall. Just a second, Manish, just a second. If I recall, Mr. Obama had spoken rather well for Dr. Manmohan Singh, and I think possibly had called him like a guru.
Yeah.
As in, you know, an elder statesman.
Yeah.
So I think, let's not
And yet it failed. Yet it failed.
I think what they couldn't take it further. But this visit also is far more just beyond a nuclear deal. Here you have President Obama referring to the International Yoga Day. Through the day, we've seen many other things. Why can't we celebrate that aspect? Even if there have been differences between the Congress and us, and there will continue to be, there are certain things that go beyond the Congress and BJP. It's going to be for the benefit or the lack of benefit
so
of India.
Why did the Manmohan Singh government fail on such multiple fronts on foreign policy? Why did it do so, Mr. Tiwari?
Well, let me answer that one by one, Mr. Goswami, since you asked. First of all, to correct Maruf Raza, the Indo-US nuclear deal was operationalized. It is not that the deal was not operationalized. The problem was with regard to Section 17B of the Nuclear Liability Act. As it was originally proposed, you had to prove negligent intent on behalf of the supplier in order to get him to recompense the operator.
Anyway, come to the broader point I asked,
by Parliament. And I'll answer it one by one. So therefore, that was changed by Parliament, and suppliers' liability was made absolute.
Come on.
Now, we would really have to wait and see as to what exactly
Sure, now come to the point.
The United States of America. Listen, stop interrupting, Arnab, and allow me to answer that. So we'll have to wait and see that what exactly, has happened between India and the US in order to change something which has been passed by Parliament. And now talking about the multiple failures that you were referring to.
Failures.
You tell me, Mr. Goswami, in the past 10 years, have you ever seen more activity on the line of control and the international border than you've done in the past 7 months between India and Pakistan?
Have you seen the United States? Have you seen the United States formally mention the D company?
I'm asking you the questions, you can answer them.
But I'm asking you a counter question, you can answer them.
What happened between what this government did? Was it in any manner different from what had been arrived at in Bali? And the answer is no. So therefore, you deliberately stole the Bali agreement, in order to try and win a few brownie points. So you actually undermined India's diplomacy and India's strategic purposes rather than furthering them.
Okay, so
I
thought, 15 minutes on this debate. I thought Manish Tiwari at this point would concede tonight, at least concede tonight that on one area where the contrast is too apparent is on foreign policy. You can say today we'll still see what Modi does on economy.
In fact, you're right.
But he won't give in.
The contrast on foreign policy is very apparent. 10 years, the UPA's foreign policy was a success. While if you actually look at this government, on each and every foreign policy front, there has been a feeling,
Maruf Raza first, before Nalin Kohli.
And a complete vindication of the UPA's
Manish, please. Maruf first, then Nalin Kohli.
Arnab, let me remind the distinguished Mr. Tiwari, who's very strong in his support for his own party's achievements. But let me remind you, sir, jog your memory. Let's put aside the LOC for a moment. Okay. Now, where did we go in our relationship with our neighbors? Those that we had good relations with, we squandered the goodwill there. Did Mr. Manmohan Singh have time in 10 years to visit Nepal? Did Mr. Manmohan Singh have the political clout to get Mamta Banerjee to fall in line with his good-intended arrangement with Bangladesh, whether to settle the enclaves dispute or the water dispute? Did Mr. Manmohan Singh's government have the strength to oppose Jayalalitha and all other Tamil politicians and go across and become a leader of the entire 54-nation Commonwealth fraternity when they were waiting with open arms for India to come and go across also and visit the Tamil areas and give a soothing balm there to a subject which needed India's attention? Did Mr. Manmohan Singh at any stage take any initiative vis-a-vis Pakistan except blundering along, whether at Sharm el-Sheikh or even addressing the fact that Pakistan is really starting with 2611 to say that Pakistan uses terror as an extension of foreign policy, and then going across to amend his entire position and say there is a trust deficit between the two of us, so we need to address it. Let me go into the larger world map, and I'll tell you many other things that Mr. Manmohan Singh's government could have done if they had the sagacity, but they didn't do. So please, sir, in case of China, we had intrusions. You're talking of intrusions, and I'm not an apologist for Mr. Modi's government, but there were ceasefire violations that were happening in pretty large numbers, even in Manmohan Singh's government. What are we talking about? What is the foreign policy success in Manmohan Singh's second tenure that you can actually thump your chest about?
Mr.
I don't know any of them, sir. Please educate me.
Questions. Allow me to answer that. You talked about Bangladesh.
Yes, sir.
Has the land boundary agreement been done? Has the Teesta River waters issue been settled by this government? You are talking about Pakistan.
Sir,
in the last 6 months. You are expecting them to achieve.
You are expecting them to achieve in 6 months. You are expecting them to achieve in 6 months what you couldn't in 10 years.
With regard to Sri Lanka, have you seen any tangible development at all? So therefore, Mr. Maroof Raza, as an analyst, I don't expect you to be so biased.
Mr. Manmohan, Mr. Tiwari, sir, Mr. Tiwari, sir, the Sri Lankan government first announcement with the new government coming in place was in favor of India.
With regard to China, whether it was with regard to the United States of America, or whether it was with regard to
Mr. Tiwari,
the UPA government has done much better than what this government has done in the past 7 months.
Mr. Tiwari, I don't want to ascribe motive to what you're saying, but I hope that your bitterness does not stem from the fact, Maroof, 1 second. I hope your bitterness does not stem from the fact that you once carried out a big campaign to somehow ensure that Narendra Modi does not get a visa to the United States of America. And today the same Manmohan Singh has met, 1 second, allow me to complete, has met Obama 4 times in the last 4 months. And he's met Obama in September, he's met Obama in Australia, he's met Obama in Myanmar, now he's welcomed Obama in New Delhi. Not just that, he has also managed to put his foot down on the World Trade Organization Facilitation Agreement, which was largely agreed upon in Bali in 2013, got India to have its say, and now also clinched the nuclear deal.
The United States of America makes its visa decisions based on pressure put by other countries.
Well, we know.
Based upon pressure put by pressure groups. Is that what you're trying to suggest?
Or for that matter, despite your candy floss diplomacy vis-a-vis Pakistan.
So therefore, somebody as intelligent and as erudite as you know, one would have expected better.
Well, I would have expected you to acknowledge at least tonight on the issue of national security.
But all that I'm saying is that it is delicious irony that after having opposed the civil nuclear agreement,
now you are going on that. I want to broaden.
Motion, after having undermined the Liability Act, you know, that is the only peg you find
Mr. Tiwari, I want to broad-base the debate to the overall failures or weaknesses of foreign policy, but you seem determined not to, and I wonder why. Is it because you will have to acknowledge? Is it because you will have to acknowledge that this government has been able to get?
I can only say that you're looking at
a
very myopic lens, Mr.
So please, today there are people who are saying have a bipartisan approach in foreign policy. Be mature about it.
A bipartisan approach does not mean that you do an entire U-turn and then not
okay,
even
now Nalin
Kohli.
Nalin Kohli, 9 minutes into the debate, the Congress refuses to acknowledge the Modi government is doing better. Nalin Kohli.
Listen, I think I'm not going to try to outshout Mr. Tiwari and just try to make points for the sake of making it. I'll let the people of India judge it. We certainly are young in government. We are there for less than a year. And whatever is being done is there in public notice. Whatever's coming out is also in public notice. So by our claiming credit for it or not claiming credit, nothing's going to happen. What's there will be seen and will be judged for our action. That's how the Prime Minister of India, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi does, that's his philosophy. At the end of it, Mr. Tiwari can keep on trying to find fault where none exists. That is his prerogative.
Now, how much innovation, for example, Kumar Ketkar, you've been a critic. How much innovation did Manmohan Singh show in his foreign policy? Where was the personal touch? Where was the outreach?
I don't think.
He went and told George W. Bush in one of those notorious comments, he says, the people of India love you.
Dr. Manmohan Singh
No, he said at one point
did not believe in body language. He believed in cerebral language. He believed in cerebral language.
So he
discussed the issues, and not only
are we seeing the lack of it?
But he also discussed
Mr. Ketkar, are we seeing the lack of it under Prime Minister Modi?
The difference.
Now, Mr. Ketkar, are we seeing the lack of cerebral matter in terms of Prime Minister Modi? Are you saying that to the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Ketkar?
Dr. Manmohan
Mr. Ketkar,
Mr. Ketkar, 1 second.
Mr. Ketkar.
Mr. Ketkar,
are you saying that? Are you saying that for the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi? That there's a lack of cerebral content here.
Modi does not do
Mr. Ketkar, that's a very dangerous comment.
Mr. Ketkar, clarification.
Yes, that's a clarification that you should come over.
1 second. Does Mr. Kumar Ketkar need to clarify right now? Mr. Ketkar, 1 second. Mr. Ketkar, please listen.
Had a cerebral language.
No, please listen, Mr. Ketkar. First of all, if you made that comment, the BJP spokesperson taking offense at what you said. You says Modi believes in body language and Manmohan Singh believed in cerebral language.
I am not a Congress person.
No, but he has a question for you. What's your question?
Mr. Ketkar, I'm asking a simple question. Are you saying Prime Minister Modi does not have the brains or the cerebral capacity to deal with these issues? What are you trying to make a point?
You said it is a body language.
I did not.
I said
I did not, Mr. Ketkar.
Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm not. I'm merely asking you a question, Mr. Ketkar. Mr. Ketkar, I'm not trying to put any words. Please just say this. Are you saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi does not... No, what are you saying? He believes in body language and he believed in cerebral content. I mean, any layman is going to ask you that question, Mr. Ketkar. Just give us a clarification.
Respect Parliament as Dr. Manmohan Singh did.
No, but Mr. Ketkar,
that's a clarification.
But Mr. Ketkar,
if you haven't said so, say so.
No, but
Mr. Ketkar, say so that I didn't mean it that way. At the end of it.
Kumar Ketkar, no, 1 second. I'll ask Rakesh Sood this, who's been quiet on this. 1 second. There is an attempt to say, Mr. Sood.
Brains into the debate.
No, 1 second. I'm bringing Mr. 1 second, Mr. Ketkar, look beyond Paul. You see, there is this attempt constantly by the Congress and by certain lobbies to say, as far as Narendra Modi's foreign policy is concerned, it's symbolism. My question to you, Mr. Sood, is this just a photo opportunity? Can this just be seen in isolation? Because we've had a string of visits of Obama's cabinet ministers, which many would have thought is indicative of a proactive approach from the US vis-a-vis India of late. So my question to you, Mr. Sood, and I think I just lost the line out there, he's back out there. Can all those people who are saying nice photo op but no substance, are they really justified in that assessment?
Certainly.
No, Mr. Sood.
No, not at all. I think there is a lot of substance in the visit, and I've already said that, you know, when there is a transformative moment in relationships between two countries, the personal chemistry counts for a lot. And we saw that in the interaction between President Obama and Prime Minister Modi. I think one key difference here between Dr. Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Modi is very clearly that Prime Minister Modi is both the leader of his party, undisputed leader of his party, and also the Prime Minister of India. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India, but he was not the leader of the party. So he did not have the same kind of backup and support from the entire coalition that perhaps Prime Minister Modi can have.
Precisely.
And therein lies the difference.
Precisely. And that matters, doesn't it? I'm sorry, the image is frozen out there. That's Rakesh Sood, former diplomat speaking. You see, that's the point. I find a great amount of bitterness somewhere. Kumar Ketkar, don't mind my saying, but there appears to be, among the critics of Narendra Modi today, the greatest amount of bitterness, Mr. Gujral, comes on the diplomatic front.
I am not denying the credit.
Because there was...
Where is the question of bitterness? I am not denying the credit. I am only saying that Narendra Modi should be graceful enough to give the credit to Dr. Manmohan Singh, which he is not. So the question is of Narendra Modi's gracelessness.
But he's not taking away credit. But the question here is, a person brings
recognizing Dr. Manmohan Singh's role.
Mr. Ketkar, Mr. Ketkar, the point is, not only has, you see, look at the innovation that has been brought here. People can say it doesn't matter. Let me ask Mr. Gujral. You know, when Narendra Modi goes to the US, there's a joint editorial in the Wall Street Journal.
Said there is no innovation.
Joint editorial in the Wall Street Journal. Then he gets Obama to come on his Mann Ki Baat.
Joint editorial and joint
Then there is a personal touch. There's a personal touch.
Come on, joint Mann Ki Baat and joint editorials don't don't really matter.
So what matters, sir?
They are completely PR.
What matters, sir? A Prime Minister of India insults all the people of this country by saying to George, did the Congress
Foreign policy is not determined by joint.
Sir, I'm asking you. Sir, I'm asking Mr. Gujral. Many people would have taken offense. Manmohan Singh goes to George W. Bush in an extremely, if I may say so, obsequious, subservient and uncalled for manner. Goes and whispers to George W. Bush, Mr. Bush, the people of India love you. I thought that was obsequious, unnecessary. That's not hard talk. You think the Americans would have liked that? Where were people complaining then about the manner in which Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister of India was conducting himself while on a state visit? Nobody questioned it then. You didn't question it then, Kumar Ketkar. Did you? No, you didn't. That was okay.
It's a matter of questioning Dr.
That was okay.
Of that. What is wrong? What is wrong in saying one head of the state?
What is wrong?
One head of the state.
Yes. Okay. Manish Tiwari can answer that.
Both elected, saying that our people love you. What's wrong with that?
Heavy lifting.
What's wrong with that?
Nuclear apartheid. Is that a fact or not?
What?
If the Indo-US Civil Nuclear Agreement went through the nuclear suppliers group, was it not because of the heavy lifting which George W. Bush did personally? You may disagree with him on Iraq or Afghanistan, but insofar as India and the US was concerned, the Republican administration did walk the extra mile in order to see that a nuclear apartheid which had been in place for 34 years finally and conclusively gets broken.
While India and the US are on a tango on an Indian melody, certainly it's fascinating to see the tango on a Congress melody between Mr. Tiwari and Mr. Ketkar. It doesn't matter.
No,
everyone's seeing that.
At that point,
Mr. Nalan Kohli,
diplomatic Democrats
is not
were
a
in
virtue.
opposition.
And what you've really done today is display the ladder of chicanery by doing a complete U-turn and not even
Well, I was wondering when you would use that term, Mr. Tiwari, chicanery. I was surprised it hadn't come up yet.
In 2015, you try and take credit for the same nuclear deal.
Look, Mr. Tiwari, you can't take Mr. Modi's credit away. The Prime Minister of India is working. You may not like it. The rest of the nation will see. They will judge him. So therefore, what are you trying to take credit away from? Allow the nation to do some work. The Prime Minister is doing it. It's being acknowledged by President Obama. So I think you don't need to take away credit. Why don't you just simply introspect?
You actually see a virtue in it. That's what I'm pointing out.
Okay. Now
you've been pointing out many things, Mr. Tiwari. You are entitled to point out what you like. I'm saying we'll be judged on our work. The Prime Minister is working. Let the people judge on it.
Around the Mulberry Bush.
Okay.
On a cold January evening.
Okay, hashtag is Modi nuke push. It's the top trending subject on the country tonight. On the other side, we been able to redefine the way America looks at Pakistan. We're going to talk about that. I thank you all for joining me so far in this debate tonight.